Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. Let's shatter some paradigms. And the paradigm I want to share today concerns white progressives. Now, you may be asking, why do I want to talk about white progressives? And that's a very valid question. Why out of everywhere, do I, trying to be a Christian sociologist, want to talk about white progressives? Well, I think to ask that question, we also have to ask the question, why aren't we studying white progressives? Let me show you what I mean. You probably have seen a book looking at white evangelicals. If you've been browsing around or searching academic sociology of religion, here are several books right now that I'm just talking about white evangelicals. And there's more, and more are coming out. It's like the social scientists are obsessed with white evangelicals. Now, I'll go into why that is in a few minutes, but more of the books on white progressives. There's one book that I'm currently reading that I've not finished yet called We Never Were Woke that does deal with white progressives. That's it. Well, maybe we don't need to study white progressives. After all, why should we be interested in white progressives? Why at all? Well, let me suggest that we should. Let me outline some information about white progressives. First, they are highly educated, more educated than average, more educated than other whites, definitely more educated than non-whites. Second, income-wise, there's evidence that they're doing a little bit better than other whites, which means they're doing better than society as a whole. And because they're progressives and they tend to be irreligious, these are characteristics we find in a lot of the cultural creation institutions. Media, academia, the arts. White progressives tend to dominate these organizations. And if I'm a little bit more specific, it's more like white male progressives. But I won't make that gender distinction right now. Politically, one can argue that white evangelicals might have more power because of their numbers, although that goes back and forth. Culturally, white progressives are the most powerful group in the United States. They control the media, they control academia. They're the powerhouses when it comes to creating our culture. And if you are a social scientist, you know how important that is. You control the culture, you control a lot of other things in our society. So, white progressives are a very powerful group that academics almost refuse to study. Why is that? I'm going to suggest that what I just mentioned, the power white progressives have in culture, including academia, is a key reason. You see, if you look at those books that were studying white evangelicals, they were pretty much all highly negative towards white evangelicals. Some more than others, clearly. Some better written than others, but they're pretty negative against white evangelicals. When we study things as social scientists, we tend to have a critical eye, and thus we come off more negative. If you're a white progressive, or you're aligned with them because you agree with them, so even if you're not white, you don't tend to want to study your own group. First, you feel like you already understand them, and second, you don't want to have that critical perspective that may make them more negative. So, for these reasons, I don't think that academics are really interested in studying white progressives, which is a sad state of affairs because white progressives are so powerful in our society, and we should study them. Now, I wanted to comment on those books on white evangelicals. I noticed that they started coming out much more rapidly after 2016. That's an important year, isn't it? Is the year that Trump got the election, his first one. And the stat that was running around, it came out like a few days after his election, was that 81% of white evangelicals voted for Trump. White progressives hate Trump. I'm not saying every single one of them, but as a general rule, they do. And if white evangelicals are going to be a main reason why Trump wins, that's going to motivate them even more to study white evangelicals. Once again, with a heavily critical eye. And to forget about studying white progressives. We do need to understand white progressives, just as a sociologist. We need to understand them to understand our society. And the dearth of research on them prevents us from understanding certain things about our society that we should understand. As Christians, and as someone who studied Christianophobia, I've come to realize how important it is to study white progressives. And I have engaged in some research, some of it peer review, on white progressives, which I will present during my playlist on white progressives. Does this shatter some paradigms? Had you not thought about white progressives in this way before? How powerful they are, and yet how little we really know about them? Those who are white progressives, of course, think that they know everything about them because they are one. But I don't know everything about African Americans until I study African Americans in general. We need a better understanding as Christians, and I believe in society, to understand white progressives, what they do, and how they act. Now, if this is something of interest to you, then I invite you to look through my playlist. I will be adding to it as I get more and more information. This is an ongoing research project for me, and I hope to really develop it more and more, hopefully find some resources to develop it even more. But I have a start with my playlist. So please, if this is interest to you, check out my playlist on white progressives. If you enjoy this video and the sort of content that I'm producing, then I would invite you to like it. I would invite you to comment on it. And if these are the sort of conversations that you want to have, or at least want to hear, then consider subscribing. You know, the more subscriptions I get, the more likes, the more even comments that are negative comments. It encourages me to continue this conversation. So I hope you'll come back, whether discussing white progressives or some of my other topics, and join me as we can shatter some more paradigms.